Welcome back to the Worldtellers podcast. Just three of us here this morning. Brother Finn is out with the vid.
Is it the vid?
I
now?
didn't know it was still around.
What, COVID?
Yeah.
I think it's around forever.
But yeah, hope he's feeling all right and
Yeah, I
getting
think
better.
he's hanging in there, hunkered down.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Hallmark TV.
Hallmark and what was the other one? Lifetime.
Lifetime.
Oh,
Yeah, that's actually what I
man.
was thinking of.
I used to have to watch some of that with Alicia.
No, he's big into the Real Housewives, of whatever the trend is now. So
Of anywhere.
yeah.
I'm watching.
Mm.
Did you guys ever go through the fad in shoot, it would have been high school, I think. The OC, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but Alicia watched it, but
You
I
weren't
was like,
ever.
this is terrible.
I couldn't tell you any of the names of the characters. The OC.
There's a show I'm thinking about, but I don't know if
I
it's that
honestly
one.
couldn't tell you anything else beyond that. But I just remember it being like
There was another one that The Hills or something like that.
That might be the one that I'm thinking about. I'm picturing two girls that were on there that were like, in competition.
like Dawson's Creek, man. Dawson's
Oh,
Creek.
man. True story. First time I kissed a girl, I didn't know how.
You didn't know how you kissed her. Or you didn't know.
No, before I was like,
We're on air, bro.
no, like we were talking about how we were gonna like, hey, I think it was like middle school or something. Like, hey, we should kiss or something. Anyway, not then, later, like the next day. So I watched Dawson's Creek. I was like, trying to find a show where they just to see how it's done. Isn't that weird?
Really?
Sixth grade, yeah.
Interesting.
It didn't help.
I think if we get our faces really close together, we'll just work out from there.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But, anyway.
Interesting. That's funny. That's funny.
It's a weird story to tell in there.
Yeah, I don't know where we're. Okay.
That was before Google.
What'd you do? Ask Jeeves?
No. No.
Oh, Dawson's Creek. Yeah.
I asked Dawson's Creek.
Ask Jeeves, man.
Oh man,
it was a different time. It was better.
I know. Isn't it kind of weird now that anyway, just
You guys had instant messenger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just how you?
yeah. It took me a second to think of what it was. Yeah. Oh yeah.
AIM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude, my away messages were always epic.
Were they?
No, I don't know. Speaking of name changes, I switched my name like 55 times on Instant Messenger. It was like, oh, what's another like edgy name? Where it's like, is that person? What? What is he? Is he trying to say something about his name there? It's like maybe, but I could also just be like, no. What are you talking about? I'm not gonna use. I'm not. I won't name any now.
What are the names?
Yeah,
no,
let's go.
just not appropriate names.
Mine in middle school was football player.
It's funny. I can actually still remember people's AOL names. Yeah, which is funny. Instant Messenger.
Yeah. Good times.
Oh yeah,
those are good times.
I know, man. It's a lot different now. So think about that. Like, I remember I was on there a lot because it was like chatting with people, normally girls, whatever. I don't know. It was like that was the drama of middle school. Or, I don't know. But it's like, dude. So think of that, and then think of what's available to kids now. It's like, here's 14 different platforms, and here's a phone that has all the information. It's like you can interact with all the people all the time. It's like, I mean, I remember. I mean, I don't remember being like addicted to instant messenger, but it's like you feel disconnected. It's like, oh, did you I don't know. There was just like, okay, that on a very, very small scale to what it is now. Where it's like, wait, if I don't have social media, I don't have like, I'm not actually part of the group.
Yeah. No, there's actually at my niece's school they were they did like a webinar kind of thing for the parents, and the principal was just going through like the reality of what's going on. And it's kind of an environment now where like if you don't have a phone and you're not in a certain group, or if you're outside of like the main group or whatever, like bullying is taking on like a whole different face where you're just out of the group and people will be talking about you or whatever. And this is all day long. This is like during class or whatever. Or I mean, you can imagine someone like taking a picture of someone not dressed right or whatever, and then 70% of the school is like talking about it, but you're not. It's just like
Yeah, so
anyway.
you're out of every conversation. Oh, you
Yeah,
didn't hear?
so it's a really toxic side of it. But I think teenagers are like I do watch my niece, and it's like one day I think she said she had sent like 1,400 texts that day or something crazy. Maybe that was for the week. It was something where we're all sat at the table. We're like, what? There's no way. Like, how did you even do that?
I don't pay attention to anything else.
Yeah, I think there's a really slippery slope there where, like you said, you're just plugged into each other all the time, for better, for probably worse.
Dude, I was driving home yesterday. I felt like a dystopian world, even though it's like this is literally everywhere you look. This is what's look around, and when you're sitting in a waiting room or anything, everybody's just looking down at their phones. I try to be conscious of it because I'm like, I don't want like I hate looking at this, but I'm guilty of it so much. Like this is horrible, and I mean in my mind it's like, well, I'm looking at something very important right now.
Yeah.
Even but it's like I was driving home and they were doing some sort of construct or work on the power lines, and so there's like one guy in a bucket truck, and then there's like 6 guys on the ground, just like I don't know what they're doing, but they were all sitting there looking at their phones. So they're all like looking down like this, and I drove by the new Amazon thing over there, and there's a couple people that are probably on break. Every single person I saw driving down the road were all just looking down at their cell phones. It's like no interaction with one another. It was just like,
Yeah.
dude, that's the world we
Well, the
live
worst is like when you go out to eat or something and you see a family and like the parents are sitting there on the phone and the kid, they're not even paying attention to the kids, or they put a device in front of the kids
in.
just to.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. We I've realized why people do that with kids. Like it's like I see why you're doing that. But yeah, there's probably a level where it's like if I didn't feel like other people were judging me, I'd probably do that in public.
Well, so I saw a guy. It was like an
It
Indian.
is sad though, either way.
It was like a Indian guy and his 2 daughters or whatever, and they had like he was in there. I think he was on the phone like talking, but his 2 daughters were sitting there, and they had like the leapfrogs or whatever, leapfrog iPads, and like headphones on, and they were going through there. And I remember like judging him in my mind so hard. But now Cameron does have a leapfrog because it helps her a lot. Like I don't know, there's actually some really quality things on there as far as if they're gonna be on a screen, it's going through the letters and the different sounds, and anyway, and so I vividly like that memory showed up like a month ago, and I'm like, oh, I was judging that guy, but that was, I saw a T-shirt. This guy, he does videos and something, and his T-shirt says, "I was a better parent before I had kids."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, no,
And that rings true all day.
yeah. It's like when you're at places, it's like, can somebody control that kid? Like, we're trying to have a conversation. Now it's like, I'm oblivious to it because it's like, that has not reached my ears yet. It's
Yeah.
the level of, it's like, what is it in the story of Abraham and Lot and what is Sodom and Gomorrah? It's like the cries of the people finally reached the ears of the Lord. It's like, yeah, it has not reached my ears yet. It's like, but they will. And when it does, you will get destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I see somebody else's kid, acting up a little bit, and I'm like, man, if my kid would just only act up that much, we could eat.
Yeah.
Dude, like real story. I'd be able to take my kids for a walk if I could like put them all on leashes, like we do, like when people walk their dogs in a dog pack, and they were just all. But I can't take them for a walk because I can't control 4 kids because they will all go in separate directions all the time.
Yep.
It's like, kids, this is for your benefit. If you don't let me put this leash on you,
They don't
we will
see
not.
you as the shepherd.
Dude, I need to get a rod and a staff.
Wait, you guys have leashes for the twin?
No, we don't. But another one of the things, I still wouldn't do it.
Why not?
I see why people do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think I had one because it was 4 of us, or I guess 3 at that time. Anyway,
You were, yeah, I could see.
My mom used one on me.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And
I think
it was
my
just like-
mom used one on Jacob. He wasn't like a bad kid. He was just very adventurous.
Yeah.
And
If you're in a
so
store or someone's
curious. Yeah, he was
in
always
the parking lot. Oh man, that's a good idea actually.
I mean,
We don't use a collar or a leash. We use a shock collar.
Yeah, that's good. That's for the talking though. That's when they get older.
Yeah.
gosh.
We I was telling you Josiah so we actually just got to a point where we go to the park because me and Lauren work separate schedules, so it's usually 1-on-3, and Camden will be on her bike, which she asked to ride her bike like 13 times a day, and for a while there it was like, no, like we can't move, like, we can't go anywhere. Like, what's Levi gonna do? Because he doesn't know how to ride a bike yet. He doesn't even get the concept of moving the pedals and all that, and his little balance bike was way too small, so he's like suffering. She's blowing by him, and he's like wants to be first. So the whole time he's just crying and like, oh my gosh, it's a lot. So we finally got to where Camden's on the bike, Levi's in the Jeep, and then I'm pushing the baby in the thing. And it's actually
Wait, say the order again. Sorry.
Camden's on her bike, training wheeling it up still.
Mm-hmm.
Levi's in like the battery powered Jeep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Which
Now,
about
is he driving that all by himself?
Yeah, and he's been doing that for a while because he had to. Because
Okay.
I don't know where the remote went, like the
Nice.
controller or whatever. And so, now the first ride was we learned with Camden. I was like, I just got to let her do it, or she'll never be able to do it. And so, the first ride was nuts. It was like one evening, it was just me and him. I mean, he was everywhere. I'm having to protect cars. I'm serious. Just riding, like trying to teach him to follow the path on the sidewalk, you know. And every time we came to a drive, I would notice that a car that had to like be there because he would just be heading right forward. Doesn't understand how to stop. Oh my gosh, it was nuts. But
Nice.
we've gotten through those growing
Yeah,
pains, and now
nice.
he's
got his permit.
Yeah.
Sounds like he has full provisional license.
Yeah, except sometimes he's like loses focus and he's just like looking behind him and driving,
Texting and driving,
leaning over the door, like look like it was like head like 6 inches from the ground while driving,
looking for a Slurpee. Seeing if there's some gum on the floor out there.
Whatever.
But
Anyway,
yeah,
it's progress for us. We can move now.
Yeah, nice. Well, speaking of movement and direction,
Yeah, we're gonna.
Sorry.
No, this is
Well,
good.
if
It always
tuned
ties
in,
in.
yeah, if you tuned in, skip 12 minutes ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I just feel so free with Fen not here.
I know.
He's so legalistic.
Yeah. All right, sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna be in Psalm 23. This was I'll read it. This was Jonathan's.
It was
last second pick.
It was mine. This is Levi. Or this is
Levi.
Sorry. It's just
No, it was when Jonathan said, "I don't have one." I was like, "All right, well, I'm reading this. Let's roll."
We were on a 45-minute. When you were texting me that, and I texted that back, we were looking for a passy for 45 minutes. And then I finally, when I went to bed, I pulled the sheet up and it hit me in the face. And I was like, you got to be kidding.
So did he get a passy? Who is this for, Jesse?
Yeah, he got the one he doesn't like.
He likes it now.
No, he doesn't. Like Lauren's like, go put it in his bed and he'll find it later. So anyway, whatever.
All right, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Keep reading, man. Oh, that is
Into
Psalm
24?
23. Yeah. It's good, man. It's good.
I'd say that's probably the most popular psalm.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any what the next one would be that would be in comparison to it. Psalm 91, maybe. So I didn't have I had ideas, but I thought maybe we just take it verse by verse, unless there was something that stood out initially for anybody. To one to. The Lord is my shepherd; I will not be in need. Any thoughts on that one?
I think I don't know. Like when I was reading that, just reading over again this morning, it's like I don't know, it was a little bit convicting. I feel like even though God has supplied our family with everything we need, there's still plenty of times where it's what if we had this? What if we do this? What if we earn more? What if we save more? Um, you know, but that's all, verse 1. What about you guys?
Um, a couple things. I think it speaks to the personal relationship that David has with God. He doesn't just call him a shepherd or the shepherd. He calls him my shepherd. Um, and so it's an intimate relationship there. And also, I think to recognize the Lord as your shepherd, you have to understand that you're a sheep. Like you can't, like if you don't have a shepherd, you're going to wander off and into all types of danger, and there's going to be wolves that could potentially destroy you. So I think you have to understand that you are a sheep and that you need a shepherd. um, that's all I got for verse 1.
Yeah, and I think with David, so you got to be speaking some level of like he lived as a shepherd for a period of time. Like he was a now I think a lot of people believe that this song would have been written later in his life. So, but it's like he's tying in his so he knew the ins and outs of what it was like to be a shepherd taking care of the sheep, and it wasn't always just like rainbows and butterflies. Like there was having to protect and lead, and probably deal with I don't know bathing's not the right word. I can't think of the right grooming, whatever that context would look like caring for the sheep, going to find the one that was kind of going off in the wrong direction, kind of thing. And so the idea of the like really trying to live in that like mentality as being the sheep of like, okay, no, I really need Jesus to be my shepherd. Like I need to listen to him and be paying attention to where he's going. And I do think there's a level where like sheep live in like a herd mentality. So I need to surround myself self with sheep that are also looking to the same shepherd I'm looking to, because it's so easy to be like, oh yeah, no, I'm part of this flock over here, and we're wait, what are we following? Like who's our shepherd? Because everybody's, whether we believe it or not, like there's something beyond us that is directing us in some way or another, whether it's just sin or something demonic, whatever. Like, and so it's like I want to surround myself with other sheep that are like seeking the same shepherd. And so if I see like all the sheep going this direction and they're followers of the same shepherd that I profess to be a follower of, and I'm going the opposite direction, that should beg the question, what's going on here? And so I think there's an element where it's also speaking not only to, I do think this is primarily about the relationship with the shepherd, but I think you also have to bring into the context the flock itself. And so it's like I want to be, I want to have Christ not just profess that he's my shepherd, but literally live in that state day in day out kind of mentality. And when I am, then there's this recognition that I have all I need if I'm following the true shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a knowing you can trust the shepherd because you know that he's always going to provide for you.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of a shepherd, like that job, was like a lowly looked at as like a lowly job. And you think of like Jesus is the great shepherd, and so he like the God of the universe comes down in the lowliest form. Just
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
it's amazing.
To kind of elaborate on sort of my response is, like I've if you just imagine, like a good shepherd, um, it takes pressure off. Like the sheep, literally, just you know, it is the job of the shepherd to provide everything. And I think relating that to my life or our lives, it's like there's so many things I think I worry about in the future. Like, oh, well, we need to have this for then, or we have this in case this happens. And this just set us convicting in the fact that it's like trust God in this moment, and then just trust that in any other moment He's going to already have a plan or already have everything that we need laid out in front of us. I don't have to worry about, and also too being satisfied, not you're in a field that can sustain you for as long as it needs to, and you're looking over this other field the whole time. You're like, just like, man, I wish I was look at that field, like
Yeah.
and just staying out of that camp. Um, but also too, like you're saying, when a sheep wanders off or whatever, the shepherd's not mad per se. You're not getting beat for running off essentially, because the shepherd knows that you're just on a much more limited level of operating. And it's just his goal is just to bring you back to the herd. That's where you belong. But
Well, then I think, yeah, even how it trickles down. So, being shepherds, um, like, because, there's shepherds of the flock, like, pastors and stuff like that. But really, in a way, it's like they're just sheep that should also be following the voice of the shepherd and helping to, because it also talks about, I was reading, I was going down a rabbit hole of like how sheep operate and stuff. And so, like, even with a sheep, there's a hierarchy within the sheep, but it's really just like the ones that first one to follow the direction of the shepherd, and then a lot of the other sheep then follow the direction of that sheep that follows the direction of the shepherd. So, like, even how it's like pastors, like leaders of the flocks, should really just be the best sheep of listening to the
Mm.
shepherd. You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
that's kind of what Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That same idea. So,
that's solid.
um, he lets me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters.
Yeah, I think he brings you rest. He's brings you peace and provision. Um, I don't know. I don't have much to.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a continuation of the first, right? Like he's gonna bring you to the food. He's gonna bring you to the water. Like it's just trusting that everything that you need, God will provide. And I don't know. Thinking about a quote by Mark Twain. I'm gonna butcher it for sure, but he says, "I've lived through thousands of what is it?
I don't know, but it's a good quote. Like,
Like I've lived through thousands of crises,
Mm,
crises, um, most of which never happen.
yeah,
mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
there's just so much you can do in your head that's just not even, you still have everything you need.
Yeah. One thing that, once again, I was going down this rabbit hole. There were people were doing some commentaries like in Israel and like in the areas where it's like, hey, this is probably a little bit more of what the train would have looked like when David's envisioning like pasturing or shepherding sheep. And he said, he's like, as you look, it's pretty much more desert, not like just lush fields of green pastures. And he said, anyway, so he was like showing the topography and all that. And he was like, if you notice, there's not a lot of water here. They get a lot of moisture in the evenings from whatever blown in from the west, from the Mediterranean. And it's like it settles on the rocks in the desert, which then next to the rocks, you'll see little tufts of grass that grow up from the moisture that, condenses. Anyway, he said, but if you tell, it's like probably similar to what it was back in the time of David. Like, and there were literally flocks of sheep out there with shepherds. And it's like, there was you would go to a section where there was sections of tufts of grass and they would eat that, and then they would have to migrate on within a couple minutes to another area that had that same thing, because it wasn't just like, here's a field, guys, go. And the idea was like, he's kind of that, give me today my daily bread,
Yeah.
that manna from heaven.
Yeah.
It's not like, here, you're good, just lay back and relax. It's like, no, you need to be continually following my voice. You will have what you need, but you are not just gonna be like, I'm just gonna lay back and chill now. It's like, no, it's a continuous movement and direction and following. It's not just like a one time, like, I did the thing, I'm good now. It's like, it's just not how the Christian life works. And I don't think that's how, I mean, we were designed to work either. Like the idea of like, once I get this, I can just chill and relax. And it's like, anybody who feels like they've kind of hit that spot of like, I got everything I need, it's like, it doesn't take long before you're like, one, this is really satisfying. And two, it's like, there's something in me as a human made in the image of God that I should go tend the garden, really. I mean, that same call at the beginning, it's like, this is paradise, go tend it. Don't just sit on a beach and chill.
Yes, you're meant to press deeper and deeper and deeper into
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So it's not just a. Anyway, I thought that was interesting because once again, even the way it reads, and anyway, I don't know. I haven't looked at the Hebrew to see if it's like it's a, but a little bit more the idea of an ongoing journeying to the
Yeah.
green.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, because I mean,
yeah,
you could read that and see like, oh, I'm just gonna have this. It's just life is just gonna be this green pasture, and but I mean, if you keep on reading, it says I even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, so it's like it's like you go through that, and he will bring you to the green pasture as long as you follow the shepherd.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
there's a sermon I just heard it again like a couple weeks ago. And I may have even brought it up on this podcast before, but there's a story of this port or whatever. I'm sure I brought it up in here actually. Of this port where these fishermen would come in every day and sell their fish, and there's always a line at the one boat, like way more people than the others, and this is like this every day for year after year. For whatever reason, the fish from that boat, people know that it's just better, and then ends up being that the daughter comes, like this guy passes away, but passes down his secrets to the daughter. And they always ask the guy, like, hey, like, why is your fish better? Why do these people come to you? And he never tells them. And then the daughter takes over, and same thing. They still go to her every time. It's like, why, like, what is it about this boat or this, operation that's that much better where there's 100 people in that line and maybe a handful in the others? And so finally one day the captains go over there to ask her, like, hey, what's the secret? Like, what's going on here? She says, yeah, I'll show you. And she opens up the holding tank, and there's like a giant catfish in there. And the whole point was that in the other boats, when they're all just sitting there, basically dying already from just floating around in that boat for however long, the fish in the in her boat is they're having to run from this.
Mm.
They're having to be on guard and be alert and be alive, to stay away from that big catfish or whatever. And anyway, so I don't know. I kind of bounce back and forth sometimes where it's like, why does this need to be this way? Why does this need to be this hard? And things like that. And just in the last couple of weeks, that sermon is starting to pop up in my mind again, where it's like, this is the catfish. It's just keeping you fresh and keeping you in prayer and keeping you in sort of the understanding and just the awareness that you need of how much you need God.
Yeah, like it's so easy, like in times of prosperity, to just
Oh yeah, it makes you
like
soft.
draw away from going to the Lord every single moment.
Yeah,
Mm.
It's like in those hard times, it's like that's when you see your dependence.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for the sake of his name. Another thing for my journey to Jerusalem last night, watching YouTube videos. Um, so a lot of it's hilly, mountainous area. Not a lot of just flat. I was in the promised land last night. Wow. I didn't actually see the city; it was the outskirts. But anyway, a lot of it were like on hillsides, is where the shepherds would have their flocks, and you can see these little, just like ridge lines up the hills. He's like, this has probably been like thousands of years of these flocks going on these same paths up and down these hills. Once again, seeking those little tufts of grass. And what I found interesting was what they said is we think of like a path of righteousness. We think of like this straight linear line with no obstacles in it. It's like this, just walk straight. And he said, once again, looking at this terrain, David probably thinking of paths similar to what these shepherds today are walking on. And the idea is they're kind of circular. They're kind of, you kind of feel like, and I'm like, so there's this idea that's like it almost feels like you're walking in circles, but as you keep walking that path, you're continually ascending. to the top of the hill to get the whatever the grass up there, and then you move on to the next hill. It's like, man, that's the Christian life. It's like, man, I feel like I'm just going in circles, man. I feel like I'm back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like anybody who's done any kind of, if you ever been to the Grand Canyon or other, like you never just walk straight up the hill. It's like switchbacks or you're going in a circle. It's like, man, it's like, maybe that's just the way it is. Like that's the way God created it. It's like, no, you're gonna feel like you're just kind of going in circles and you're not going anywhere. But like you look back 5, 10 years and you're like, oh my gosh, well, yes, I'm still like I'm not there, but I'm not down there anymore. Like
Mm.
something's changed. And so there's this idea of like that circling, which I think for us is linear, try to be like super rational and be able to wrap our heads around everything. Like once again, I think it's another one of those things. It's like, no, you got to trust me by faith. You got it. You're not going to see it. It's not going to make perfect sense to you. It's not a straight line, but it's the best way to get to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. That's solid.
Yeah, dude, you're on fire today. The Jerusalem trip helped you out.
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
Was this a series on YouTube? The
I
Journey
I
to
was like,
Jerusalem?
well, no, I don't know. I was like at different clips of things. Like I was looking up like what was,
This
yeah.
sounds
Anyway,
like a one for Israel type of.
no, none of it was one for Israel, but I'm sure they probably have some solid insight on Psalm 23. You could probably just listen to a podcast from one for Israel. It'd be
Mm.
way better than ours.
I
But
need
if you're this far along, you might as well stick it out to the end.
yeah. Mm. Yeah, that's I like for his name's sake.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah.
You know, I feel like I just keep, especially as of late, just getting caught up in like just focusing so much on our little kingdom
Mm.
instead of having my mindset being on building his kingdom and letting him build ours behind us or
Yeah.
whatever, or while you're and I've been in that place before, you know, in my faith before, where it was like that was genuinely my first priority was like, Lord, use me, here am I, use me, and I'm just trusting with full faith that everything behind us will be taken care of, probably to being way better than we imagined in the first place. Um, but yeah, just think about that a lot lately.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That it's and really with sheep, like no one's gonna blame the sheep if you come back with 5 less, or if they're mangled or
Mm,
trashed or
that's
like
what I was.
got thistles all over them. It's on the
It's a
shepherd,
reflection. Yeah. No, I was just thinking of that same thing. Yeah.
and so as a good sheep or as a good follower, you can help that cause
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. It's like, hey, yeah, I got 75% of the sheep back today. It's
Yeah.
like, what? Yeah, you're not like, oh, Bill the sheep. Yeah, what a horrible sheep. It's like, you're not shepherding properly then.
Yeah.
Um,
Seems really weird. That
Hmm.
that sort of mindset, or like who's judging the Lord?
Yeah.
Or
no,
like,
but I
hey,
think,
like,
but I
so
think
yeah,
he's
bringing the sheep back.
faithful. Like, I think that is like his whole thing to the nation of Israel is like, I've made this covenant with you. So like I've got skin in the game for like and I have to live up to my name. So therefore I will fulfill this covenant even though you will fall on your face over
Mm,
and over and over and over and over again. And ultimately like I'm going to have to send my son to do like take everything all the failures and faults and stuff. I'm going to because of my namesake, because I am that faithful, even like you can be as unfaithful, like, but I will still be faithful because I will live up to my name,
Mm.
and I think there's just something where it's like we need to recognize that. um yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Still up to the sheep to follow the shepherd.
Yeah, what is it like? No one can take them out of my hand, but anyway,
No one can pluck them out of my hand.
doesn't mean the sheep can't just wander off.
man, I'm
Anyway,
I'm
that's a
glad we're taking this dive because I've never thought about this deep. But like, just we talk a lot about like Calvinism, or we talk about like there's the big debate, right? Of is every single thing we do just dictated as opposed to, but even in this scenario, as opposed to being sort of a dance, right? It's
hmm.
God's will and my will, and when those are in alignment, everything is much better. But even with this, it's like the shepherd has a plan, has a strategy, has a but there's still some like there's a dance there. Like
Mm.
the sheep need to also be uh, cooperating and and making good decisions too in faith. You know?
Well, it's not, and the decision is simply just following.
Yeah, it's
It's not
so
like I
easy.
don't have to figure this out.
Yeah.
All I have to do is just take the next step,
Yeah,
and I don't even have to think about 5 minutes from now. All I have to remember is there's a shepherd. I just got to kind of be aware where the shepherd's at.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's like I
and
don't have to. It's simple. Like think about living the life of a sheep. It's very
And-
simple, but it's radical from as a human.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Man.
It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. You think about like times when you feel like closest to the Lord, it's like you're not thinking about anything else really.
Mm,
Yeah,
you're in the moment. You're
Yeah.
just in the. As I think Fen would probably like a flow state where it's
Yeah.
just like I don't know what's gonna like I don't know about later. I'm not even. It's not even.
It's just a complete and
Yeah.
utter trust.
I think it's that. Yeah, that abundant life. Because once again, that's John 10:10. Which that's the whole I'm the good shepherd. And it's
Hmm.
like no, I'm like that's the like think about if you just lived in that mode where it's like just a freedom, like not a complete will, but it's not willy nilly. Just like
Yeah. It's not
I've
just.
given up on trying to have. So therefore, I'm just gonna like my life is chaos and whatever. I'm just like, but it's like there's something I don't know. It's like I don't know how to put
It's
your.
like a middle ground between. Yeah.
It's just like I've just in a flow state because once again I think it's I'm completely in I'm oriented to the shepherd, but like from there they like that's my responsibility, and then from there, okay, let's
Yeah.
roll.
Yeah.
yeah. I think one struggle, like I don't know. Well, the example of trying to pick which school for our daughter or
Hmm.
whatever for Camden, it's like we're praying about it. Like there's certain crossroads, right? And we're praying about it, like Lord, which decision is right? And I mean, there's a faith there where it's like, okay, I've prayed about this. God is going to show me. Like there's not going to be like I'm actively asking the Lord to help me with this, and I believe the promises that He will. But there's still that hesitation, where is this right, or
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
God leading me over here?
And
No, I
just
think
to
you're
speak
speaking
on
to
that, I
there's go
think he may guide you into a specific decision, or he may be like, look, both of these are good options,
both
Yeah,
are green
right?
pastures.
Because
Yeah.
one,
yeah,
because you can get into that mindset of like God's got to tell me exactly what to do, and then be paralyzed and not be able to make decisions, right?
yeah,
But I think if it's good, like I think God's like, whichever one you do it for my glory.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm picturing like a sheep coming up on a rock, and it's like, we do I go the left side or the right side? And it's like,
Mhm.
just go.
Just grass on
yeah,
both sides.
Yeah. Once you get to the other side, you'll see.
Yeah, yeah,
You'll see that it's fine.
yeah.
yeah,
Somebody said, and I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but it kind of helps me because I can overanalyze. But it's like if there's a decision and there's a like I have to make a decision by this date, like it's not like self-dictated. Like I want to know by this date. It's like no, I need to make a decision by this date for applying to a school or whatever. And like you've really been in prayer about it and discernment. And your wife's in prayer about it. And it's like and it's like maybe hey, we need to make a decision. It's like neither one of you feel like you've got like a firm answer on A or B. Then I've always I've heard that it's a little bit okay. Then that it's got if you've tried to discern and really seek the Lord, and it's like you don't feel like you've gotten like a do this, don't do this, and it's kind of like both options are good options. Now, once again, I'm not saying that is the gospel, like that is
yeah.
take that and run with it, but I do think there's some wisdom in that. Um,
Yeah.
but let's get into the nitty gritty
All
here.
right.
Yeah.
Let's go into the valley. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. One initial thought is just if you read verse 1, 2, and 3, he refers to the Lord as he will, he. And now in the valley, it switches to you. You are with me. Your rod, your staff,
Hmm.
you, in verse 5. And I mean, I think all of us could speak to like, hey, there's a level of growth and just like the day to day life, but is painful and difficult, and it's a struggle. When you're in the valley, you're in the valley. It's not like, oh, it's all rainbows and butterflies. It's like, no, it's difficult because it's the valley. Like that's
Mhm.
what it is. But I think in those seasons, it's where it's like it goes from being like he out there to like you, like this intimate, like I'm looking at you, not he off in the distance kind of thing. I'm not saying the first couple verses are because it does like my shepherd, like I'm not, but you know what I'm saying? It's like this deeper level of intimacy with the Lord that I think only comes through. I won't say only, seems to become more available to us in those trials, in those valleys.
Hmm.
Trying to think of this quote. Give me a second.
I think of it, you mean Google it?
I got it. I got it somewhere.
And then one other thing that about that, I mean, obviously it states it very clearly, and I would recite it. But even though I walk through the valley, um, man, I'll tell you what. One of the biggest lies the enemy speaks to me when I'm in a difficult time is like this overwhelming feeling and emotion of like, no, this is a pit. Like whatever it is, like I have this like uh, I'm claustrophobic, so that would be a specific example. If I feel like constrained, it's like this uh, anxiety attack, almost like this overwhelming, just like flush of like, oh my gosh, like freaking out, like, and it's like that's that sense is, I think it's just demonic. It's just like, nope, this valley, it's not a valley. You're not going through it. You're stuck. It's a pit and you can't get out. And one is like, the first one is, oh, there's hope because I'm going through this. I see, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope, which is an anchor for my soul. Like there's that, as opposed to I'm just stuck here and I can't get out and there's no future other than this. And then, you know, one leads to despair and one leads to, okay, I can take another step because even though this sucks in the moment, I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So um, that idea of just throughness is,
Yeah.
once again, very clear, but for me, very powerful in like just personally, a good reminder of the truth.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a reason that it didn't start with, the psalm didn't start with this part of the psalm. Started with, He's my shepherd. He makes me lie down in green pastures.
Mm.
So it's like I know who God is, and so even though I go through this valley of the shadow of death, I still know who God is, and He's a good shepherd, and so He's going to bring me through this. Kind of just what you were talking about, and so there's no reason to fear if I know who the shepherd is, and if I know that He's always going to provide for me. He's always going to provide protection for me. Um, Even though I'm going through, like, the valley of the shadow of death is not free from the threat of evil, but it's not death itself, it's the shadow of death, right? And if I stay focused on the shadow long enough, then I'm going to start fearing whatever's casting that shadow. But if I keep my eyes focused on the shepherd, then I'm going to walk through that shadow because it's not a shadow can't do anything to you.
Mm.
So it's just, again, knowing who the shepherd is.
That's solid. That is so true. As soon as you're focusing on the evils of the world gets really, really dark, and you start to get dark. It reminds me of the verse. I'm not sure if it's of, the eye is the lamp of the body, light of
Well, I think it's the lamp of the body.
and anyway, but if
The
your
light
if
is.
your eye is full of darkness, how great that darkness
Mm.
is.
Mm.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, just staying focused on, and two, I mean, like I said, I love that we're taking this deep dive, like sexually, really picturing the sheep, kind of you're going through a sketchy area, and you're all kind of huddled up together, and you know, like there is a little bit of anxiety there, maybe, or a little bit of like, I don't know about this. This is not everybody knows it's not a good area, and then all of a sudden you feel that rod get up against you, and you're like, but I'm fine.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
And um, Like you said, there are times that are really scary, or things happen. There's things you're unsure of, and I do think that's one thing that in my own life, um, like there's we're in a busy season right now, and I feel like there's times like even the last year or two where I feel like I was really, really just close to God and was reading more, and there's also a lot more time. Not that I couldn't do it today. I'm not trying to make an excuse on that, but anyway. But even still, like sort of the maturation process, like I do feel like now in my life there's a lot more of a deeper sense of like before it was like really discovering new things for the first time and starting to sort of turn into like more of that slow burn where it's there is a lot more of this, I would say, where it's when things start looking rough or things start looking, when you're in the valley or whatever, just having a lot more peace in those moments. It's like, well, I don't know how this is going to work out, but Lord, I need you right now. Please give me peace. Or, just even just remembering that God is with me in all things. Um, like you were saying, well, I'm not sure we've said it before in here, but like just sort of if you look at like the graph of a stock or whatever, when there's a first initial public offering, there's these huge waves, way up, way down. Everything's great, and especially when it's like that when someone gets first saved, it's like Satan's all over them.
Mm-hmm.
These huge swings, and God is the greatest thing on earth, and then all of a sudden you don't hear from him for a month or whatever, and but then over time those waves start to level out a little bit, and the the um the increases or whatever, there might not be these huge jumps anymore as far as just your faith or whatever else, but it's starting to just be more steady Eddie. And anyway, I do think that's my own life. Praise the Lord that's starting to be more that way. But
Yeah, no,
Mm.
that's good. Finish it out.
You want to just do both?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
just.
Okay.
sorry, I forgot.
No, it's not you. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Certainly, goodness and faithfulness will follow me all the days of my life, and my dwelling will be in the house of the Lord forever. So, I guess one overarching thing in tying in this last section, a little bit what Jonathan was talking about, how like early on it's like one way and then it kind of levels out over time. Um, there's a writer, Martin Shaw, I think is the guy's name, but he was being quoted in a different book. I don't think it's directly from his writing, but he's like, if you picture a human life in colors, it's like you have a red phase, and this is obviously very like boiled down, but a red phase, a black phase, and then a white phase. The red phase is like you're a child. It's like life is like overflowing. You have that childlike innocence and faith, and it's just like everything's rainbows and everything. I keep using that, rainbows and butterflies, but it's like everything's great, and then like maybe it's you grow up or maybe you experience something difficult, which is bound to happen to everybody to some degree, and like you go through that valley, you go through that black phase in life where it's like, okay, that childish innocence is no longer there, and there's an element where it's like, am I going to just discard that, um or is it like and just stay in this despair, or am I gonna like make it to the other side, which is that white phase with a little bit of that steady eddy, where it's like, look, I've been through the black. Like I know everything's not just perfect this side of heaven. Like there's difficulty and there's suffering and there's pain, and it's like I'm not discounting that, but I'm gonna regain like what Jesus says, like lest you become like little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. But it's like I'm not just gonna be an innocent little child where it's like ignorance or what's the word I'm looking for, where it's like not aware of things. Anyway, uh,
Naive.
yeah, not
Yeah.
naive. It's like it's a fully aware, but yet a childlike faith. That white phase, that like wisdom, where it's like, no, I didn't lose that childness. I regained it, but in a way deeper and more profound way. And I think that's a little bit what it's talking about towards the end, where it's like, look, even before my enemies, like there are enemies, the table's set though,
Yeah.
and you've anointed my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Like, and I know ultimately I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, and goodness and love.
Goodness and mercy. Some say
mercy,
steadfast love.
will follow me. Like, and so there's like this a deeper, profound area that only the valley can bring. But once again, that's if we're oriented towards the shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah, just real quick before we close out, I'm gonna you prepare. I love was it verse 5? You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. I just feel like there's such when I read that there's such authority there.
There's such protection and safety.
Yeah, but there's it's not like the shepherd is trying to run and hide us and him. It's like no, this is happening, and whether our enemies see this or not, like I am greater than they are, and we apply that to our life today. Like there are things that are outside of our control, um, but nothing is greater than the power of God. And so, if there's something that He has for you, and there is, um, there's no fear of someone going to take this from me, or I don't want.
Well, that's good.
What if my enemies see this? It's like no, I'm just sitting here and I'm looking around. I'm not gloating or whatever, as being a child of God, but it's just a piece there. It's like okay, this is mine because it's from Him. So
Yeah.
Probably a good method if you're living in that state of converting those that are the enemy, if you will. It's like if they're looking at you and you're just in a place of peace, even though they're trying to attack you and trying to overwhelm you, and you're just like in a state of good. And there's a table set.
Yeah.
Like come to the table.
yeah,
It's like, man, why does that person have peace in this situation? You shouldn't be at peace. Stop being at peace. And it's like, because
Yeah, you're just sitting there enjoying a meal in the midst of chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
Amen.
All right. If you made it through the first 12 minutes of this episode,
Yeah, sorry guys.
No,
maybe
dude,
you got something good out of it.
I took us down the rabbit hole, brother.
Yeah.
Dawson's Creek. I started it, so.
Oh, I forgot about Dawson's Creek.
Is that based in North Carolina? Like Wilmington area?
Was it?
That sounds right.
I think,
I
yeah.
have no idea.
Pretty sure.
Jonathan only watched the show for like 5 minutes to get
Yeah.
what
He
he
tried to
needed,
get that
and he
kissing
rolled on.
scene, and he was out.
A very short.
Well, you probably couldn't. You had to watch the whole
Investigation.
episode. You couldn't just you didn't have like a way to just find a clip, man. You had to be invested in the show to find the part where they kiss.
I generally remember that. So it wasn't. I was like, I think there's a lot of kissing in this show. Turn it on. I'm having to watch like an episode, or you have to It wasn't just I had to watch the whole thing.
Did you buy in after that? Were you a Dawson Creek kind of guy after that?
No, I think my older sister would watch it, so that's how I knew of it, and I'd seen glimpses or whatever of just kind of the way the show is, I guess, where it's like. But anyway, it wasn't as much kissing on there as you thought.
The one that's like I don't want to wait?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man, that song itself might get me back.
Falling in love with my wife all over again.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was gonna say too. That sort of piece you're talking about, and the graph or whatever, where at first it's just all over the place and it's passionate and all that. I mean, it's the same thing with your relationship with your wife too. Just over time, it's just you don't have as much of that like warm fuzzies all the time, but they can still you still have a nice dinner, or there's moments where you see her in the right light and you're like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. There's still some of that,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. It's almost like it doesn't need to be that all the time anymore
It's
for
so
it to
much
still
deeper.
be extremely valuable and deep. So
Yeah.
anyway, pray us out.
Pray us out.
Father, thank you for this psalm, and thank you for those who have gone before us, who have had deep relationships with you, and then written them down so that we can learn from them, and also be strengthened by them, and see the correlation that you are the same God as you are now, as you were thousands of years before. And we just love you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Till next time.